Perched atop a rugged hill in the Bavarian Alps, Neuschwanstein Castle looks like something straight out of fairy tale. Its imposing and fantastical silhouette has captured the imagination of millions around the world, so much so that it served as inspiration for the famous castle in Disney's Sleeping Beauty. However, beyond its magical appearance, Neuschwanstein is also a reflection of the soul of a king, Ludwig II of Bavaria, a lonely and dreamy monarch who sought refuge in art and fantasy from the demands of the real world. The story of Neuschwanstein begins in 1869, when Ludwig II, at the age of 24, decided to build a castle inspired by the ideals of the Middle Ages, a period he considered full of nobility, chivalry, and spirituality. The chosen location was a mountainous spot near the village of Hohenschwangau, where an older castle already existed, where the king had spent part of his childhood. Fascinated by medieval architecture and the operas of Richard Wagner, Ludwig II wanted to create a palace that would be a kind of temple of art, a synthesis of his love of Germanic mythology, romantic architecture, and the idealized world of legends. Although at first glance Neuschwanstein appears to be a medieval construction, it is actually a 19th century work that employed modern technologies for its time. The castle's design was entrusted to set designer Christian Jank, who was more accustomed to designing theatrical sets than real buildings, which explains its dramatic and fanciful aesthetic. Architect Eduard Riedel translated these sketches into plans, and later George von Dahlmann and Julius Hoffmann continued the work. Inside, the castle included advanced heating systems, running water, and even telephones, demonstrating the innovative nature of the project despite its ancient appearance. The castle's interior is as impressive as its exterior. Each room was carefully designed, inspired by the heroes and legends that the king loved so much. One of the most notable is the throne room, a majestic room decorated with religious and Byzantine motifs, where, curiously, a throne was never placed. Also notable is the Singers' Hall, modeled on a similar room in Wartburg Castle, with frescoes depicting scenes from Wagner's operas, such as Tannhauser and Lohengrin. The king's private chambers also reflect his introspective nature, luxurious, yet full of symbolism and mythological references. Despite its ambitious design, the castle was never fully completed. Ludwig II lived there for only a few months before being declared mentally incapacitated in 1886, under circumstances still shrouded in mystery and controversy. Shortly after, he was found dead in Lake Starnberg alongside a psychiatrist, an apparent suicide or accident. He was barely 40 years old. His abrupt death left the castle unfinished, and many of the planned rooms were never built. What Ludwig II dreamed of as a private retreat, removed from the world and dedicated to art, soon became a public attraction. Just weeks after his death, Neuschwanstein was opened to the public as a way to recoup some of the money invested in its construction, which had reached astronomical figures and generated many debts. Paradoxically, what was meant to be a sanctuary of solitude was transformed into one of the most visited monuments in the world. Today, Neuschwanstein Castle welcomes more than 1.4 million visitors a year. The postcard-perfect image of its white facade with pointed towers, framed by the forests and mountains of Bavaria, has become one of Germany's most recognizable icons. But its value goes beyond the visual. Neuschwanstein represents the tension between reality and fantasy, between power and escape, between a modern world and the yearning for an idealized age. The castle also offers a reflection on the role of art and imagination in times of crisis. Ludwig II, isolated and uninterested in politics, found in architecture, music, and myth a way to express his worldview. Although harshly criticized in his time, many today see him as a visionary who transcended his era and left behind a unique legacy, where each stone seems to tell a story. Ultimately, Neuschwanstein Castle is not just a spectacular building. It is a symbol of what happens when power meets artistic passion, when an individual's dreams are able to materialize, even if only in stone, wood, and paint. Perched high on a mountain, lost among the clouds and echoes of the past, Neuschwanstein remains a castle of a king who never wanted to rule, but who did know how to dream. If you want to know other interesting stories, you can follow my YouTube channel, Frank Fernandez Historia.